mad here in the Dynasty Wonderland.
Hello, everyone. Madcaps. Welcome back to the Dynasty Wonderland podcast with me, the Mad Chatter, Ryan MK, and of course, my good friend, the one and only salaried captain, the March Heron. He is Aaron Stewart. Check him out on the Twitters, AARonStew09. Buddy, what is up, man? Fun day of football.
Fun day of football. Week
That's
3
right.
is almost in the books, but man, it's exciting. It's just a good weekend overall. How about you, bub?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I've just red zoned most of the day and really enjoyed just, chillaxing with the football. That's kind of how it is. My Fridays for work are really on Saturdays. So I end work Saturday, and it's like Sunday's that first day off, and it's just everybody knows that's Ryan's, that's Dad's chill time. Sunday, the first day off, and football's on the day, so it's nice and relaxing, and the wife gets to have some nice relaxing time, and the kids get some of the video game and pad time, so it works out for everybody on Sunday. I love Sundays is what I'm trying to say, Aaron. I love Sundays. But we're not going to really talk about what we saw Sunday night because that's going to be incorporated to what we're doing. So much like last week, we're doing the off with their heads and the Mad 5 section. And so we begin this week with off with their heads. And disclaimer, we don't actually want, I'm going to say this every fucking time, we don't actually want anybody to lose their heads. No, of course not. This is just, metaphorically speaking, this is guys, in the doghouse possibly, or someone you can't trust. We'll just get into it. Aaron, you go ahead and go first, my friend.
Well, my first off with their head is a guy that just finished playing his game right now. It's Jimmy Garoppolo. Just simply put, we've seen enough. Let's look at the stats. Just this game here. You're going against Aaron Rodgers and Packers. You need a quarterback to compete. Otherwise you're gonna just be stuck. Like that's what stopped the Colts for many years after Andrew Luck retired. And Garoppolo tonight dropped back for 40 passes, which is crazy. Like, Kyle Shanahan does not let Garoppolo pass. Those 40 pass attempts led to 257 yards. There's a reason, I guess, let Garoppolo cook isn't a thing. It's because he just can't. I feel like he's overthrowing the cooking pot. He doesn't know what ingredients put in there. The dude's got some of the most electrifying weapons in the game with Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, even Brandon Ayuk, who started to make a bit of an emergence. I was wondering. I was like, oh, well, is he now the number one receiver again? Not yet. But baby steps in the right direction. But I digress. Jimmy Garoppolo off with his head.
Yeah, that was that game just finished up. It was fun. Obviously Packers take it, and that helped me out too because I had picked the Packers. So, but I'm still behind you, Aaron, in the picks. I'm still behind you, and I think we both have. Oh no! I could tie shit up tomorrow if the Eagles win for me, or I'll be kind of back to where I was at the beginning of the week if the Cowboys win. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, the Packers kind of did their thing. I did this week. I did every week. I have certain NFL podcasts I listen to, not ones that are necessarily related to fantasy. Sometimes they might chat about it, but in these podcasts, a lot of smart football people thinking this would be a great game to really use Trey Lance. And what did Trey Lance do? He had the one rushing touchdown. That was it.
He got him on the board.
That's true, but otherwise, it's just I don't know. There's a lot of smart people, football people talking about the Green Bay defense, which I will give you this, played better today or tonight. But, certain things with that defense and how San Francisco could exploit them with Trey Lance. And so it was a little bit, and I'm with you, man. We've all seen enough. Let's get Trey Lance in there. He's the last one. So yes, that's a good one. I'm going to go with, speaking of rookie quarterbacks, Fields finally gets on the field, and it was bad. And this game was actually on TV, so I watched a little more of it. And I'm just off with the heads of the Bears and the offensive line. And I'm not going to say Fields was in anything spectacular, but I did see, man, the Browns, and I'll get into them later. They were just, they destroyed them, and it was just like 9 fucking sacks. So in a way, it's like, yeah, Fields that's not the debut you want. You got to be better. But I mean, fuck, like help, like that was pretty crazy. So, and I know one of the knocks on Fields is that some have on him is his time to take to go through his progression. So, but there was a few plays, man, I saw where just there's nothing that dude could fucking do. Like that, like the Browns D was in his face like instantly. So I don't know, man, but definitely not the start you want for Fields. But we'll see how it goes. More than anything, it's just like this is gonna be like. Kind of like it probably won't be quite as bad as like some other teams I'll get into here in a minute, but I don't know. This could definitely be a little rough for Fields, but not that I'm down on him or anything, but it's the team around him is not necessarily encouraging.
Right. And just briefly, what I'll mention, there's a lot of people that going into this week, they're like, gonna start Fields. He's gonna be a dual threat quarterback. He's gonna be so great.
What did we say, Aaron?
And we're like, wait, we're gonna pump the brakes.
Right.
And that's a smart thing because at the end of the day, it's a rookie quarterback, and Fields will be fine. He will. Yeah. There will be better days. This, as you talked about, not an ideal defense to start your rookie career. And then my other point, I just had to kind of chuckle at this. Sometimes that's how you have to deal with bad things, right? And Fields had 68 passing yards, and those 9 sacks you mentioned accounted for 67 yards lost due to sacks. And in the NFL, what they do is they don't count the sack yards against quarterbacks. However, when you look at team passing yards, it does take all of the quarterback passing yards and subtract the sack yardage. So if you looked at just the team's box score, it said Chicago Bears, 1 passing yard. So, shout out to my friends in Chicago. I'm so sorry. I know you have suffered long enough. And
yeah, so excited to see him. And I was excited to see him too, but I knew it wasn't going to be like fantasy-wise anything you could rely on to put in your lineup. I mean, unless you were completely desperate, and it was definitely worse than I thought. But which is why off with their heads. Come on. Everybody all around on that offense needs to do better. Is what I would say. So
absolutely.
Moving on. Go ahead with your next one, Aaron. Off with their heads.
My next one is another quarterback that needs to go. This isn't a shocker, especially after the game we just saw. Ben Roethlisberger, off with his head. I mean, his shoulder's already off. His legs are off. There's a play where he dropped back, and what was it? He did this short little pass, and he got knocked to the ground, but not by the defense, not by tripping over an offensive lineman. It was literally nobody was there. He just fell over. And if that play right there doesn't summarize Ben Roethlisberger 2021, that he's fallen apart here.
Yeah.
I don't know. like 50 something pass attempts, and like he got past the 300-yard mark, but 14 freaking passes, dump off passes to Najee Harris. Sorry, Steelers. Like, yeah, your defense is solid, but that offense, yes, they were missing Deontay Johnson, and then they missed Juju Smith-Schuster. But it doesn't matter if your quarterback can't he can't throw anymore.
He's fucking awful.
It's just done. Oh, off with his head.
Yes, I'm with you. The aforementioned football podcast I listen to, there's a couple different people that are like, man, by the end of the year, they're going to regret they ran this shit back. Both the Steelers and probably Big Ben himself. And it's very much looking that way at the moment. Can't be too quick to judge, but it's like, yeah, you just see it. You see it. Dude is done. So, but he did hit Pat Fryermuth, who I suggested on the Infirmary report today. I had a few good ones. I also had a terrible one, which we'll get into throughout the Mad Five. But got to call out my bad calls, But other than that, I don't really have much to say, man. I agree with you. All of this head, he's falling apart. This is just, yeah. I mean, and actually, we'll be addressing a little bit more of this game later. So I especially don't want to say too much more. So I'll go to the next one. Off with their heads. The football teams in the Big Apple. I'm done with them. Just the Jets. You can't start anybody. You can't. They're awful, fucking awful. And then the Giants. I commend you for getting this pick right, picking the Falcons. They did win the game, and holy fuck, this was the team, Giants, for you to get back on track, to get off. And what the? And I hear a lot of people, Joe Judge is a good coach, but they just holy fuck, man. I was totally wrong about the job. I totally thought during the offseason that this was an offense that could be very viable for fantasy. And I was wrong. Because they did. I mean, Saquon Barkley had a solid game. And as he gets healthier, he will probably have a good year. And we know what Saquon Barkley can do. But it's going to be tough because that offense is garbage. Or the team is garbage. It's off with their heads. Both New York football teams.
It's safe too, and yeah, as you mentioned, like I just have this feeling, it's Joe Judge. That seat's been warm, and I was like, if they lose this game to Atlanta at home and they're 0-3, oh boy,
in a winnable division,
that's all you're going to hear the rest of the season. It's until Joe Judge gets fired, whether it's rightfully so or unrightfully so. Doesn't matter. Those big markets, they have zero tolerance for losing. They have zero patience, and they're the time's ticking for Joe Judge.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Give me your last off with their heads.
Last one. We're going to stick to the same area. We're going to move a little bit to, what would that be? Little east, I guess, to New England. This pains me. Part of it pains me. For the tight ends, Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, off with their heads in redraft. I held out hope that, kind of following the money, that Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry could coexist in New England, because those are the guys they paid the top money for. Said, you know what? Here's what they're going to do. The offense, that's going to be the 1A and the 1B in the passing options there. And really all they're doing is what people that were arguing that point said would happen. And they're not really involved much, because it's more like if there's 10 to 12 tight end targets, they're just splitting them evenly instead of me optimistically thinking they could both get, I don't know, 7, 8, maybe upwards to 10 in the situation. They're just not. I think they both had 6 targets. Jonnu Smith, one catch, 5 yards. Hunter Henry, 3 catches and like 36 yards. It ain't clicking yet. And you know what? 3 weeks, that's enough of a sample to see how they utilize them. There hasn't been a single game this season where they've heavily involved either one of the tight ends. So for me, off with their heads.
Yeah, and this week it was Kendrick Bourne, 6 for 96 and a touchdown.
And Jacoby
Myers had 14 fucking targets. He went 9 for 94. So, yeah, it's pretty great. I was wrong on him, too. I didn't think the same as you. I just thought Jonnu was outright going to be the tight end to get. I thought he was going to be the guy. I thought, oh, sure, Hunter is going to get a couple targets here and there. And, maybe it's like a 75-25 type of thing, but he's going to be used a lot for blocking. Jonnu's going to be the one primarily used as an offensive weapon, receiving weapon, and I was wrong. We both missed on that, but it is disappointing, but I agree. Off with their heads. And for my last one, I'm just going to say Urban Meyer. Off with your head. I'm done. Can we just get him out? Get him out. Although it was nice to see James Robinson, but I just had enough of the Urban Meyer experience. I had enough of it already, but now I've really had enough of it. And it just feels like, man, you wonder about some of these quarterbacks, and it's like, I'm sure Trevor Lawrence will be fine, but some quarterbacks can get ruined, man, if you put them in shit situations. And that's, Sam Darnold was nearly ruined. And I still wouldn't say he's like something fantastic at the quarterback position, but just getting away from that nightmare, he's improved, and so it's just like, you just hope it doesn't become a complete train wreck, but I've had enough of the Urban Meyer experience personally. So that's my last off with their heads.
Yeah, I got you have it well said right there. Yeah, Urban Meyer, sometimes,
I don't know about well said, but
hey, and sometimes it's difficult. You don't see it a lot in the NFL. But sometimes you just got to go, this ain't working, and let's just end this experiment early. I think what happened with the Cardinals, they had the one defensive-minded coach the year that they finished in last place. They drafted Josh Rosen, it didn't go well. They had a coach that came over, I think, from the Panthers. His name escapes my mind, but it lasted one season, and they're like, nope, this ain't it. Get a new coach. So hopefully for Jacksonville, that's what they do. They just don't fall into the sunk cost button fallacy. Just rip off the Band-Aid, get it over with.
Well, same thing happened with Cleveland, Freddie Kitchens. They were like, nope. Yeah. Like, hey, all right, the Baker Mayfield connection, let's go ahead and give him a chance. Nope. And I don't know if you remember Jim Tomsula.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember if he was just a one-year guy or if he got fired in partway into his second year, but he wasn't around very long either.
This kind of feels like it's going to happen. Like there's just so much talk already.
Yeah.
It's
not been a great experience to start, but who knows? I just know I'm done with it. Okay. We got the negative out of the way. And again, we don't really want anyone to lose their heads. And so we move on to the positive, the Mad Five, or, not necessarily all positive, but our observations of this Sunday. And Aaron, why don't you go ahead and go first? Your first mad observation of this week 3 Sunday.
All right. This one, I'll admit, I was rooting big time for this one. When I go to Buffalo, Mr. Josh Allen, finally having that big old game. He had 358 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. believe he added a fifth one on the ground. And the reason I love this one, I have to kind of pat myself on the back a little bit for this. I have a weekly article, wide receiver cornerback matchups. I try to give you some wide receivers that you can find on your waiver wires. That there's usually a pretty good chance you could find them Sunday morning on the waiver wire to pick up. That can start in your flex, wide receiver too. Sometimes weird things happen. We are getting to the point now. I want to say bye week start next week. Don't quote me on that, but like if not next week, the following week. And injuries are piling up. And so this article, those starts become a little bit more fantasy relevant. And in this article, my most recent one, the very first player I talked about, Emmanuel Sanders. Oh, man, he was available in 80% of ESPN leagues. I was starting across multiple leagues, and guess what? He's wide receiver 5 in PPR.
That's crazy. I did see that.
Now.
He's crazy.
I love it, and that's why the people that follow it, if I lost some followers, maybe because of that, and I always tell people, I'm like, stick with me here. There's a process. I'm gonna find these guys. I give you my word. I'm gonna find these guys. But Josh Allen, this was the get right game. In that article too, I just point out. Yeah, and I point out in this article, it's like, there was one key stat there, the air yards. Going into it, Josh Allen had over 800 air yards, but less than 300 of it was completed air yards. That's a mind-blowing 500 air yard, over 500 air yards. That was unrealized. And the Washington football team, they were one of the worst defenses in completed air yards allowed. It was the perfect storm there. I'm really glad that the thought process was right. And I'm so glad the results were there. And watching that, I was like, of course, Josh Allen's tearing up this defense. I actually had a league with massive starting lineups. We're talking 5-6 flex spots as well. And just to kind of troll my league mates, I had Josh Allen at QB. And then my 3 receiver spots, not the flex spots, the 3 receiver spots, Diggs, Cole Beasley, and Emmanuel Sanders. And it was glorious.
Very nice.
How about you? Who's your first Mad 5 takeaway?
Well, as I told you before we started recording, I'm very excited about my Mad 5 this week, and that's because I gave them all nifty little titles. So, my first Mad 5 is titled Bolt to the Face, because the Chargers put that whooping on Kansas City's ass, which was very interesting to see. Justin Herbert, 281 yards, 4 touchdowns. Mike Williams, he was on top as the fantasy wide receiver, 7 catches, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns himself. And then meanwhile, Patty Mahomes, he, solid game, but he throws a couple of picks. That's what gets you. Kelsey, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they were over 100 yards, but overall, it was not the most impressive effort from the Chiefs. And I would say, Aaron, are you worried about Kansas City at all?
Nah, they'll get right. They will. This was a tough one. Somebody had to lose. And it's not 0-3. That's 1-2. And this team's talented enough to correct things. And we're talking about Baltimore, like both teams that beat the Chiefs. They did it in the final minute of the game. So it's, in an alternate universe, Chiefs are 3-0, and we're not even talking about being concerned with them. But you're right. True. The Chargers, they're legit. This was a good statement win for them.
Yes, it was. It very much was. And that's why I ask about the Chiefs, because of this, specifically this division. Now, for fantasy, we're going to get points from your guys, although isn't this 2 weeks in a row where Tyreek Hill wasn't necessarily overwhelming?
Yeah. And those will happen. Teams are starting to, I don't want to say figuring out the Chiefs, but the Chiefs will have to adjust. And also, just prayers for Andy Reid. He was hospitalized after the game. So
I did see that.
Yeah. So hopefully nothing too. The reports where it's precautionary. I hope that's what it is. So, just hoping that this isn't anything too serious.
Yes, I agree with that. But yeah, I'm with you. Statement win by the Chargers. And what a division, man. The Chiefs are at the bottom, 1-2. You got Denver and Vegas at top undefeated, right? The Bolts right behind them. So I mean, it's what a crazy division. It'll be fun to watch the rest of the year. But that is my numero uno mad observation. So next one on to you, Aaron.
Well, and I did actually mention the stat line, but it is definitely one of my takeaways. The Najee Harris, his performance in this game in a losing effort to Cincinnati, which I got to say, excellent call by you. You called the road team beating the Steelers. And in this one, 14 catches for 102 yards for a running back for Najee Harris.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that my cash game lineups, which also a little shout out there on DraftKings, my cash game lineups made me lots of money this weekend. There you go. And it's because I had Najee Harris in it. He definitely played a part. And as long as he's going to be in that mid 6,000s, like I love that cost on DraftKings because we just saw what the upside could be. He didn't score a single touchdown in this game, but 14 catches, topping the 100-yard mark, which gives him an additional 3 points in DraftKings. And, oh, yeah, by the way, he's still getting all the work in the backfield. Like, it may not be pretty. It may not be super efficient, but give me the volume. And especially as long as Ben Roethlisberger's there at QB, Najee Harris to the moon in PPR leagues.
Yeah, I can't disagree, man. But unfortunately, that was kind of the one bright spot for the Steelers today, wasn't it?
It's the only one I cared about.
Right, because otherwise, you mentioned off with Big Ben's head, and then we've got Najee Harris kicking some ass, but really it was all carnage in the Steel City. Title of my second observation, because upset alert. Bengals on the road took him out. Now this was kind of weird though. Burrow was not really any stellar. He only had 172 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, did have an interception, and so it's not like he was overly spectacular. But he got the job done. Jamar Chase, 4 catches, 65 yards, 2 touchdowns. I remember once upon a time in the preseason when he was having some dropsies and people were freaking the fuck out, man. And it's like, chill. Or as Mr. Aaron Rodgers would say, relax. So, yes, Jamar Chase. Good on him. And hey, no T. Higgins, and they were still getting it done. Joe Mixon, 90 yards on 18 carries. So, since the offense looking good, and hey, part of it is that, Big Ben turning the ball over, So, I mean, they get some turnover, they get some help from Pittsburgh, help shorten the field. So, I'm liking the direction of the Bengals, and we continue to see that they are good for fantasy. So that would be the other part, and probably last part to close out that particular game, now that we've kind of hit all the areas of it.
Love it. Well, let's go from a game that I think Vegas thought would be low scoring to a game that Vegas thought would be high scoring, and it was overall. And the Rams brought it to the Buccaneers. Oh, man, they told the Buccaneers, you know what, you may be the Super Bowl champions, but it ain't going to be a cakewalk to claim that title. But there is a takeaway. There's a few takeaways from the Rams, but for me, there's one particular one. Maybe I might have jinxed Robert Woods this season. Because he was the first victim of my article back in week 1, where I was like, let's sit Robert Woods. Now, that sit article was supposed to be just for week 1, but apparently the trend is becoming just sit Robert Woods on your bench all fantasy season. Because he's just got away. It's the Cooper Kupp show. And there's games that Tyler Higbee has been fantasy relevant. not really any games with Robert Woods. Like, he is now at best, he's a flex play. You can't just plug and play at receiver. And his fantasy relevance is kind of like that portrait there that my niece drew of Luffy from One Piece. It just kind of blew away there. It's his fantasy relevance is just going down the drain. So just a takeaway. I mean, Van Jefferson, I want to say if he had at least the same amount of targets as Robert Woods. So I think a lot of people in the offseason were like, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, the 1A, the 1B of this Rams offense. No, it's the Cooper Kupp show, and everyone else is trying to be the 1A, 1B of the Robin role, whether it's Higbee, Van Jefferson, or Robert Woods. So, sorry, I hate to see that for Robert Woods.
Or Deshaun Jackson. It was Deshaun Jackson today. But yeah, that's a fun offense, man. That's a good team. And nice to see Sony Michel get a little involved. Not quite as efficient as maybe he was last year, but we'll see how this ran. Some of these guys are new. Even Stafford's new. There's another offseason narrative, if you remember. A lot of people like, well, he could never win with the Lions. Is he really going to make the Rams that much better? Yes, he is, and we're seeing it. And it's fantastic, and I quite enjoy seeing Tom Brady lose. So that I was enjoying this one as well. And but for the Bucs, they couldn't get the ball. They couldn't run the ball. They were trying to keep up, and they just couldn't do it. So some kinks in the armor for Tampa Bay, and fantasy wise, Evans, Godwin still got it done. And nice to see a little Tyler Johnson get in on the action. You know what I mean? Nice to see that. So, yes, fucking Robert Woods, man. Whew. There's a quick fall from grace, it would appear. All right, I'm going to go back to Cleveland. We mentioned him earlier. And this observation is titled, Hunting Bears. That's right. And much like the Browns defense was hunting Justin Fields, well, Kareem Hunt was hunting the Bears defense, because this Kareem Hunt, 81 yards and a touchdown, 6 catches for 74 yards. One of the studs of week 3, just went completely bananas. And also, welcome back, Odell Beckham Jr. Good to see you. 5 catches for 77 yards. Yes, welcome back. But the Browns offense is kind of a weird thing. And I know Jarvis is injured and all of that, but it does seem like Baker very much spreads around the ball. And this was very much a Kareem Hunt game. And so it is, you're always going to get your points from Nick Chubb. He's going to give you something. And, this was just a Kareem Hunt day. But that could be part of Jarvis Landry not being there, because I know there was talk of that Demetric Felton, their rookie, possibly playing that role. And they did get him. He had a couple of nice plays. But, it did. They very much spread the ball around, so it's kind of hard to nail things down fantasy wise. But fucking Kareem Hunt, whoo! And I'll be interested to see the continuance of Odell, see how he continues to look and his connection with Baker, and we'll see how that goes, because maybe Odell establishes himself once again as one of the more reliable fantasy assets. So we'll see how it goes. But hunting Bears. I thought this game was going to be closer, but and it was a little rocky for the Browns for a minute. But they just went to bear hunting mode.
Which I love it. I love it, because Cleveland was needing a game like this, because that Houston game was shaky, and of course the game prior was the Kansas City game, where they had Kansas City on their heels and somehow lost that game. So this was a good one of taking care of business, hunting Bears, as you said, just getting right and going, you know what, we're not really going to sweat this one. Once they took control of that, the Bears were done on that one. So, but this was an important game to make sure not to, You don't want to lose to a bad team.
Right.
But also you want to like show to the NFL, oh, look, we are the much better team than this team, and we just proved it. Love it.
Good stuff. Go ahead, buddy.
And my next one, I'm going to keep it within the AFC North. And I got to pour one out for the Detroit Lions because it looked like they were going to pull off the upset. They were going to beat Baltimore, which that game was shaping up to be a trap game because if you've been watching these Detroit games, and it's just like the last Monday Night Football game, Detroit Lions, that first half, they were in it. They were ahead. And it's showing that a lot of the people that go, oh, this team is going to go 0-17. No. This is going to be a team that they may not win a lot of games, but more than likely
they're right there
to be in it. They really have. It's been the Packers game was a little misleading. They fell apart late in that, but the one possession game against the 49ers. The reason they didn't win this game is because I got to mention my point on this one. Justin Tucker, a 66-yard field goal to win the game. Not only is it impressive that it won the game, that was over 60 yards, but the 66-yard field goal is an NFL record. Justin Tucker actually talked about how warming up before the game, he tried to kick it 65 yards both ways, and he missed both. Somehow he was able to get it when it mattered the most. And you know what? At the end of the day, that's all that matters. And I think I have to go and fact check this one, but I did have a buddy that mentioned, he said that the last time the Ravens and Lions played each other, it was the result was similar. It was the Lions were leading. The Ravens went out to kick a game-winning field goal. It was a 60-plus yard field goal that Justin Tucker nailed. So, man, Lions fans, they probably know. I honestly, I should have looked that up before the show, but just got past that on. That's, golly, sometimes that is one of the things that makes the NFL just so beautiful. It's poetic.
Right. Yes.
So props to Mr. Tucker. Like that's the kicker of this generation. It was Gostkowski before him for so long in the prime New England offense days. And with him going away, it's been Tucker as far back as I can remember of this past of like the 2010s, kind of carried over into the 2020s.
Yeah, it's crazy. And TJ Hawkinson didn't do shit today, and the Lions still hung in there. Their leading receiver was Khalif Raymond. And but hey, DeAndre Swift had a solid day, and the Lions almost pulled it off without that miraculous kick, as you talked about. And while TJ Hawkinson kind of fell off the map this week, but Mark Andrews, yes, 5 for 109 yards. Good to see, because I'm a Mark Andrews fan. So that's all I would add on to that. And moving on to my next mad observation. Eating W's for the Bayou, the Saints. The Saints are back, get another notch in the win column, but I gotta say, as nice as this is, and Jameis Winston is just a treasure. I just last week his whole interview thing with coach just told us that. Well, what did he say? He just told us to play hard. Whatever. That dude just cracks me up. Now, it's another big win, but the offense is just. Winston had 128 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Kamara had 89 yards on the ground, but on 24 carries, not exactly efficient. I did like the Marquez Callaway sighting, 41 yards and a touchdown. But it is a weird offense that right now, man. In week 1 when they won, even though they smashed the Packers, Winston, did he even have 200 yards, or was it just barely over 200 yards? I don't even think he had 200 yards.
But it was a small amount.
And so I don't even think has he hit 500 yards total for the year? I don't even, it's a very weird offense, but they're 2-1. We'll see what happens as they continue to evolve. Seemed like there's a little more Taysom Hill this week, but yeah, we'll see. That was my big thing is eating W's for the Bayou. Good for them. Get back in the win column, but it's just the offense is just so weird to me. So that's what I got. That's my fourth observation.
At the end of the day, all that matters is wins.
That's very fucking true.
And I tip my hat to Sean Payton there. Like, that just shows the importance of what a good coach can do. Because you're right. You look at this offense. Outside of Kamara, what do they really have? Not much. So,
well, just sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say my whole thing. Why it's so weird to me is like if this is the way they're gonna win, like who the hell do we rely on for fantasy? Like, you know what I mean? Like I suppose you got to play Kamara, but like, you know, no Callaway, no Troutman, no nothing. If this is how it's gonna be, so I don't know. Maybe I don't know. We'll see. I trust in Sean Payton. He's proven himself before, so I'm sure they'll get some kinks worked out and they'll be better. But on the other hand, if they're winning like this, I mean, so I don't know. It's a very weird offense for fantasy, but yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm with you. Maybe a fantasy offense that outside of one guy, you don't play anyone else. But these NFL coaches, they don't care about our fantasy lineups.
Well, of course not. No. I wouldn't expect them to. But it would be nice.
But moving on to my last Mad 5 takeaway here. There is a coach that may care about our fantasy lineups because he sure makes things a lot easy. And that's Mike Zimmer, the Minnesota Vikings, and in particular one player, Alexander Mattison. Dalvin Cook out for the game. You know, Madison, it was like, okay, let's put him in. Now, I'll admit, I've been burned one too many times on this one throughout the years. Like Alexander Madison, of course, the past 3 years has been a sought-after handcuff running back. Not a believer in handcuff running backs, but, you know, usually during the season, you start picking up some high upside guys because what if he gets hurt? And years past, I've been Mike Boone. I've been Mike Boone before. And I wasn't too certain about this. But the encouraging thing was his yardage. It was 171 yards. And on top of that, he had 6 receptions, heavily involved in the passing game. That's where he had been missing before.
Right.
Cook has missed games. Cook, I hate saying it, he's not Mr. Durability. Nope. He may end up playing 14, 15 of a 16-game season, but like it was always, you're always guaranteed that he was going to miss some games. So it was nice to see Alexander Mattison get his number called. I did actually manage to pick him up from free agency in the one league I've got Dalvin Cook. So I'm thrilled on that one. And thank you, Mike Zimmer, for just making things so easy because consolidated target share. It's Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. This week, Tyler Conklin, and then, of course, Alexander Mattison. Those were the only guys that got involved. Sorry, no KJ Osborne this week. Yeah, like
I know. But I actually played Osborne in a couple of leagues, and I was like, oh, fucking of course I did. The week he did.
I had him in some GPPs, so I feel your pain on that one, but what can you do? Apparently, Alexander Mattison, wide receiver 3 for the Minnesota Vikings.
Right. Yeah, I got to admit that was. I'm sorry. Was that all you had, or?
Oh, that's all I got. Hit us with your last Mad 5 tick.
Well, I was just going to add on to that real quick because I severely missed on Madison this week. I talked about him in the infirmary even, and that I was fading him. My brother Tyson even had, should I play Madison? He had one league where Cook was going to be, should I play Madison? No, don't fucking, because I was the past experience with him. Just past experience. Someone on Twitter before the game said, get ready for the best backup running back in the league or something like that. And I'm like, you fucking kidding me? And then, of course, he goes off like this, but he's never done this. He's never had this kind of game as a starter in replacement of Cook. So
and that's where I would, with waiver wires, of course, he's going to be one of the top ads. And I would be hesitant to do that because of what you mentioned. That he's had plenty of opportunities before filling in for Dalvin Cook, who always misses games. And this is the first time it actually hit. I just don't like those odds.
No. And like you said, no KJ Osborne, but hey, Justin Jefferson, nice to see him tear it up again. And then fucking no Tyler Lockett this week. That was a bummer. Definitely a bummer in DFS for me. But I'll move on to my very last mad observation of the week. And this final one is titled Barbershop in Las Vegas. Because, well, Peyton Barber had a bit of a game today, didn't he? 111 yards off of 23 rushes, 1 touchdown along with that. He added in 3 catches for 31 yards. Big day for the Raiders who, hey, the Dolphins were fucking feisty. They were pretty feisty today. Jacoby Brissett, he wasn't terrible. He didn't do anything spectacular, but he didn't make a lot of mistakes. There was a lot of this, particularly in the second half. There was a lot of this game on the Red Zone channel. And of course, it went to overtime, so I got to see the whole end of the game. And it wasn't a big Darren Waller day, but he got Edwards involved. I'm sorry, I bounced back to Carr. That sounded totally fucked up and no transition or anything. but yeah, anyway, Dolphins, good on them. Did I have anything else for the Dolphins? Oh yeah, Mike Gesicki, 10 for 86. That was cool to see. But back to the Raiders, as I was speaking of, Derek Carr really spread it around. Edwards, Ruggs, even Renfro got involved. And so it wasn't a big Darren Waller day. And then you had Peyton Barber. And meanwhile, Kenyon Drake, 8 rushes for 24 yards, 3 catches for 33 yards. Just saying. Because a couple weeks ago, we talked about him. And I said, fuck Kenyon Drake. No, I really didn't say fuck Kenyon Drake, but I was just saying, I'm not trusting that at all. And here you go. He didn't do a whole lot last week, and this week it was a whole lot of Peyton Barber. Barbershop in Las Vegas. And the Raiders, 3-0. Broncos, 3-0. The Chiefs, 1-2. This is just such a crazy division. It comes back to this crazy AFC. We got the crazy AFC West and the NFC, but this shit is crazy, man. Those 2 divisions, just craziness.
I love it. And that means, especially the AFC West division, as you talked about, I think is upside down from what people thought going into the season. But that just means, hey, the Chargers and the Chiefs have shown they may be 3rd and 4th place in this division. They're still really good. And it's going to, those division games that they're going to have between all of those teams are going to matter. Losing one of those games is just going to be a dagger to each of these teams because not all 4 teams are going to make the playoffs. And it'll be interesting. Raiders, that was a team I was like, I just feel like a Raiders thing is going to happen where they're going to lose to the Dolphins. You know what? If there wasn't that stupid ass play by the Dolphins where they threw a wide receiver screen pass in their own end zone and it results in a safety. If that play never happens, the Dolphins end up winning this game.
Right.
Sorry, that's my little mini rant there. But, just goes to show, I think the bigger takeaway is, man, those AFC West divisional games. I don't know what the next one we're going to have. But whenever there's one of those on, it's worth watching because those teams know. You slip up and lose a divisional game. I mean, if the Raiders lose to the Chiefs, Chiefs right back in it, and the Raiders lose a pivotal 1-game lead on the defending division champs.
Yeah, it's crazy because both Denver and Vegas look really good, but I just feel like one of them, maybe even both of them, they're going to fall off at some point, right? Because the Chiefs are going to keep coming because they're the fucking Chiefs. It's not like they're going to go away. And the Chargers are fucking for real. So I just feel like I do, but who knows? Who knows? We'll have to see how it plays out. It's a crazy division. And as is the NFC West, I mentioned that you've got the Rams, Cards, both undefeated. Niners couldn't hang on tonight, so they go to 2-1. And the Seahawks, they're at the bottom. So the Cardinals, I just have one complaint. I just want to put this particular dude on off with their heads alert. It's very close. Someone I touted very much during the offseason, someone I very much love. But he's just not getting it done. And that's a one Chase Edmonds. And it's sad. It's sad. But 11 rushes for 26 yards. He did have 7 catches for 49 yards, but he's just not getting it done. We expected much, much more. I didn't think James Conner would do anything. And really, the first couple of weeks, he was a bit. But today, James Conner, fucking 2 touchdowns. And he also had 11 carries and got 43 yards, which means much more efficient. It just sucks. James Conner. I thought he was not going to be a big deal. And now I'm a little worried after this game. And so we'll have to see how this plays out. But I'm worried about Chase Edmonds, and he's real close, real close. He's on that alert, that off with their heads alert. But that's all I got.
I wonder if we should call it the hot seat. off with your heads, hot seat.
There you go. Off
Just
with
like
their
with the
heads,
coaches.
hot seat. Yes, I love it. I love it. All right, buddy. That's all I got. Do you got any final thoughts before we head out of here?
And I am ready for a good Monday night football game. Cowboys, Eagles, division game. I don't know what's going to happen this one. Both teams need they need a good statement. And, the Cowboys didn't look good last week on the road, but neither team wants to lose the first divisional game of their schedules.
Right. Well, and they both kind of had they both looked really good week one. And, the Cowboys against the defending champions, the Eagles against the lowly Falcons. But then, week 2 is a little bit of a disappointment in how they both looked, even though Cowboys got the win, Eagles did not. So now 2 1-1 teams. And really, I would bet, especially after what we've seen with Washington today, there's a good chance the division is between these two teams. So this is going to be a good one, I think. I'm excited. I've got Philly in the picks, of course. You, the Cowboys. We'll see how it turns out. Otherwise, then we'll be back here to chat tomorrow after it'll be today when you listen to this. So today, we'll be back to chat after tonight's game. There we go.
Love it.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. All right, buddy. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining. Don't forget to check out the pod at DW_pod on the Twitters. Yes. Stay safe, stay vigilant, stay mad, everyone. And we will chat again tomorrow. No, tonight. I said tonight. Until then. Ta-ta. Later.